back to the Us Review. I'm Carla Davis Luster, your host. Here is where I discuss controversial relationship topics. I give the male and the female perspective when it's necessary, and I offer some solutions or suggestions on how to compromise for the sake of saving a relationship. I always take the opportunity and time to give a very brief recap of the previous week, which was 2 weeks ago. I spoke about why do people cheat. You can check out the full episode at season 1, episode 8 at Ask Carla on IG, Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok. Well, to briefly recap, I discussed some of the reasons why people cheat, according to my research taken from the Institute of Family Services. I'll just name a few because I don't want to give everything away. And some of the ones that they named off was anger. People cheat because of anger, revenge, low self-esteem, various sexual desires, and much more. However, once again, I'm inviting you to go to one of my platforms at Ask Carla to check it out. I think that it'll be a good subject, and I think that the episode was pretty good, pretty great. So go check it out. Once again, I don't want to give everything away, so that's it. However, today is season 1, episode 9. I'm talking about blended family relationships. This is also a very tough topic and can be a tough situation if not handled right if you are in a blended situation. And it's one of the controversial topics that I've been asked to talk about. And when I've been involved in various couples discussions, various couples situations and stuff like that, and topics come up. This is one that have come up. So I felt it was a great topic to talk about. Now, what I'm going to talk about in specific for today is what are some of the major causes why blended families actually don't work. And I'll talk about some of the solutions, what if you are in a blended family, what you can do to make it work or be successful at it or get it as blended as possible. Because I want to just throw this out. Blended families is not something, and just getting people to go along with things 100% of the time, that may not be feasible. However, you can get it to a place where it is livable, workable, and sustainable. So these are the reasons why I wanted to talk about this as well. First of all, I want to give you a definition of what exactly is a blended family. Basically, it's just a couple that have children from previous relationships that have come together to make a family. Very simple definition. Today's preface actually is going to come from The Woman Tells, my novel. It's going to come from chapter 7, page 97, paragraph 1, and I'm only going to read 2 sentences. And the sentences that I'm going to read, they are very thought-provoking. I hope you get it, but if you think about it, once I read them, I think you will. Nevertheless, let me show you my novel. I always do that. The Woman Tells is where it's coming from. I'll show you the back of it. You can purchase this at Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, or AskCarlaDL.com. So this is my first one. And I also want to make mention, I do have a new one out. I Am Not a Homeworker, Opportunist Maybe. You might want to go ahead and grab this one while you're grabbing this one, because once I get done taking prefaces and kind of going through The Woman Tells, I will be moving to I'm Not a Homeworker, Opportunist Maybe. Once again, you can get it at Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, and AskCarlaDL.com. However, let's move to the preface. It's page 97 for those of you who may be reading along or always have your book out that have a book. It's page 97, paragraph 1, and the first 2 sentences. And they go like this. Like I said to her, I'm not quite understanding the hostile behavior. We both went into this with no expectations, rules, or inhibitions. That's the way relationships always somewhat start, huh? Interesting, right? So with that said, and with that thought-provoking sentence, and you're like, where is she going with this? Think about it. Now let's talk about some things that can cause friction in the blended family. These are not in any order. I'm only going to go through a few, some of the ones that I did look up or whatever. However, I want to say this. There is always another situation that could arise that we have not heard of or whatever. And it's a situation that could cause problems in a relationship. So once again, I like to say I'm not naming off everything that could happen. However, I'm just naming off a few that are heavy hitters that when I did my research and I talked to people, interviews, sitting in couples, going to dinner with couples, whatever the situation is, these topics, when you talk, these are some of the things when you're talking about that topic came up a lot, is what I want to say. Keep in mind, I want to throw this out here too. The statistics on a blended family is very concerning. 70% do not even make it. When I read it, and I read it in several different references that I like to, read up on and stuff like that. But 70% do not make it. However, there's a 30% chance that they do. That is still a percentage that they do. It's not like 95%. However, it was very concerning when I read that. And with that, I'll just start off with the first thing that typically is an issue in a blended family is just coping with sacrifices, meaning that you have two different families or two different situations, the male, the female, whatever their situation is. Both can be bringing children to the relationship, maybe just one. However, there are children being brought in and you're blending this situation that has been operating on its own cognizant, right? But you're trying to bring it together. So coping with sacrifices, meaning that bringing it together doesn't always mean that everything coming from both sides is going to fit this particular unit or this particular setup. So there may be some sacrifices and merely on just, where you live, the space that you have. You may not be able to bring all of your furniture. You may have to compromise on what furniture you're going to, use. What, situation where one set of kids may have to transfer or both set of kids may have to transfer because you decide to get a house that you guys wanted to purchase together rather than live in a situation that was the other's prior to you, and I hope you're following what I'm saying. So coping with sacrifices can be a big to-do or a big situation that could cause a lot of problems because, people, sometimes change is not good for everybody. Everyone is not one to accept change right off the bat. And just with that, I'm going to move to the second one that I wanted to talk about is just maintaining inclusiveness. I see a lot of companies, and I do take my hat off for the major companies that actually work with this and have a department that works with this, is the inclusion department. I want to say that I was with McDonald's Corporation years ago, and they did have an inclusion department. And what the inclusion situation is, for those of you who may not know, inclusion is just making sure that everybody has a voice, that everyone is heard, and that everyone, it's an open door for ideas and different things, and just valuing everyone for whom they are. With this in a family unit, you have to make sure definitely if there's children on both sides that you're making the situation very comfortable and a very happy situation where they feel accepted, where they feel that they are included, or everyone is included. So that would probably take work, because if you've been doing your separate thing and you're only worried about your kids and what they want, now you're bringing two sets of families together and you have to worry about everyone. So therefore, the biggest thing is that, the couple, the mom, the dad, is going to have to definitely be on one page, and it's going to be a lot of conversations around how do you handle things? Once again, I said coping with the sacrifices. Secondly, I'm talking about making sure that everyone feels included. That's important, because this could definitely send someone into depression, feeling that, now that my mom or my dad has this situation, they've thrown me away and I'm not as important. So it's very important to work on being inclusive with everyone in the family unit. Schedules, I throw that out there. This one is probably the most workable. You're bringing two families together. Everyone has a schedule. Mom and dad may be both working. Kids may have activities, or you may have a situation where one side, the kids had a lot of activities, and this side, the kids aren't doing anything. And that parent is like, well, why do I have to be bothered with taking this one back and forth or whatever to whatever activity, because that's not something that I do. However, I'm going to always refer back to one of the other things that I said is the inclusiveness, that, it is important what the other children are doing or your children are doing, and making sure that you're coping with the sacrifices. You got to sacrifice and maybe do some things that you weren't doing at first This is in sake of making the relationship work. It may be a situation bringing these kids together. It could you could start to have a situation where the kids don't like each other. They're fighting for territory. They're fighting for, their place, because this is a new situation. You could have increased sibling rivalry where they're getting into it, and this one is taking this side, this one is taking that side. And then you even have children that are generating different things against one of the parents. It's like, I don't like him or her, or he don't like him or her. It's so you have all this increase. It's not just sibling rivalry. You just have parent kid rivalry. However, you have to be able to, you and your spouse, talk about it and just come up with some type of a rule, some type of a code or situation, how you're going to handle giving out, taking care of what's happening, taking care of how are you going to discipline. And we're going to get to that. So I said increased sibling rivalry, just making sure that everyone maintains identity in the family, because once again, I did say the inclusive goes right with identity. If kids start to feel like you've thrown them away, that could be a very bad situation, and you don't want depressed kids, So I'm going to continue going because there are a few more things here, but these are things that are major. They may sound minor the way that I'm putting them. However, it is major, and it can cause, once again, a relationship to part. Like I said in the beginning, 70% of blended families do not make it. Through confusion, through having to sacrifice. It could be legal issues, unworked out amongst one of the parents and their exes. It could be situations like that. There are even legal situations that you need to consider on, okay, should one of you, since you've married or you're together, have parted, how will assets and everything be handled? How will different things, how will the situation be handled amongst the kids, insurance. There are a lot of legal things that will need to be talked out. You have to talk them out anyways when you're in a relationship and you're coming together as one, but it makes it even more challenging when it is a blended situation and you're bringing extra baggage in and you're trying to fit two suitcases worth of clothing into one. I'll just put it that way. The ladies will probably get it. The men are like, that's easy. However, it is a situation. You have to definitely exemplify patience, because you got all these personalities coming together. You got all of these agendas. You got all of these various things and that's trying to be forced into this one little square of that you have to fit everything in, and everybody's trying to jam their stuff in and fighting for territory and everything. So it is a unique situation. So patience is definitely a virtue that you have to have. You have to have, another thing is that I've seen in this situation is that you have two parents, they're coming together to blend. Each one of them have children, and then I've seen one be less tolerant of the other's kids, and as opposed to their own kids. You got to get away from that. You got to, be fair across the board. You got to stop looking at differences, because you have now become, shall I say, the same, because you're in this, you have chosen to be in this unit. And if you've chosen to be in a blended family unit, you have to put aside, just thinking, the separateness. You're trying to become one. So it can't be separate. You have to handle things together, shall I say. Financial troubles, could arise, however you were used to just providing and doing things for one family. Now dinners are, depending on how many kids, they're doubled. You're doubling the groceries. You're doubling, for the mom, how much you got to cook. For the dad, you're doubling, how much money you got to put on the table. And I'm just saying it in, kind of like the American standard way. The father provides, the mother's home, whatever. But, we all know that situation is not cooking nowadays. Needless to say, you are definitely, once again, squeezing all this stuff into one space with all of this, that's got to work. However, patience, kindness, you got to raise your tolerance level for different things you weren't used to that may be arising now. It's very important. And then here's a really, really big one that I see a lot, or, have gone through, is the clashing of parenting styles. One parent may be very strict and not non-tolerant of foolishness, and then there may be one parent where is letting Johnny run all over the place and just do whatever, and it's okay with them. That could be an issue. So that is definitely something that has to get some type of an understanding, some type of a compromise, or I don't know, a coach or whatever to that is unfamiliar with both of you, that can be unbiased to one of you, making sure that you guys respect what is being said. However, the clashing of the parenting styles, I've seen this one tear up a family without, without cause. It's just because one is unwilling to bend with, with the discipline piece, or with, not understanding that, probably need to stop little Johnny from tearing down this or whatever. If it was mine, I'd be like, look, I'm going to take this away, time out. However you handle it, you guys have to come up with some type of parenting style that you can live with, that's in the middle. Now, not everything maybe you guys are going to handle together. You may be, certain things you may let the spouse, if it's their biological kid, take the lead on it. That's fine, However, it shouldn't be that each parent can't say anything to the other side's kid. It's but you just have to work out, what does that look like. You don't want to be mean, you don't want to come off as mean, you want to come out and hopefully it's a situation that everyone understands that we are different. We love all the children, we just parent different. So that's a reason why you want to come up with something that is in the middle. If I gotta say. And here's another situation. One of you are unwilling to listen, when the other one is saying something in regards to a child, that is not the biological, but maybe have seen something or whatever. And hopefully it's not, you see all these movies on TVs, and I think Lifetime has messed up a lot of people where you get this wicked stepmother or stepfather doing like weird stuff. I'm not talking about that situation. I'm talking about a family that have come together, they love each other, and, they have accepted everything, they love the children, and the parent, one is coming to the other with a situation that, one of the parents is unwilling to listen. You got to be willing to listen to it, and got to be willing to talk it out. And you should always present yourself as a united front. I can't tell you how much kids can see when you're not on the same page, and they will work that situation. Oh my God, will they work that situation? So you have to be on the same page. Even if you go in the room or somewhere where they can't hear and you disagree, and it's a battle to coming up to a solution, you should definitely, when you're seen with them, you should be on one page. Now, here's another one, and with the listening, it goes into, kids can lie, kids can make up stuff, and kids can embellish things or whatever. So don't be so quick to jump the gun and, fly off the handle about the situation. Once again, you guys have to communicate. You have to talk about it, because the situation is already difficult as it is. Once again, you're bringing two situations into one little thing, trying to merge everything. And here is one of the major things that you've got to not let enter into the relationship, and that's having an ex meddle in the relationship, and or giving. You have to make sure that you're keeping it under control. Here's the other thing. I've seen that a lot of exes coach the kids into being bad, okay? And I'm trying to say all this stuff light, because it is definitely a serious situation if you're in it and you're having issues or whatever else. Once again, I go back to the statistics that I said, 70% don't make it. And these are some of the triggers and things that, they start off as a pea and then they grow to a watermelon that causes relationships not to work. just the other ex, the ex coaching the kids to do things and say things and, causing problems, or, you're not my mom, you're not my dad, it's just a whole situation. Whereas at the end of the day, if you and your spouse have chosen to be together and you love each other and you're trying to make this work, you're going to have to definitely communicate and keep not only the exes out of the situation, and I'm not saying not communicate with the exes, because you have to. If you have children together, you're going to have to communicate, but you got to find an effective and positive way to do that. So once again, this is season 1. If you're just tuning in, this is season 1, episode 9. We're talking about blended families today, a very serious and kind of touchy topic. It's controversial, like I always talk about. We're talking about blended families, and right now I just got through going through some of the causes and major causes that families don't work out due to these situations and situations that are not handled properly. The statistics that I continue to give is that 70% of blended families do not make it. According to a study conducted by the Association of Family and Inheritance Lawyers and Divorce Mediators, a large percent of blended families usually don't make it past 5 years. So 70% don't make it, and they don't even make it to 5 years. That's huge. That is totally huge. To me, this type of a situation, a blended family, is a relationship you kind of know what you're going and what you're getting into. And that when you get into this situation, you're dating someone or whatever, you guys get serious, you want to get married, you both have children, you're bringing them together. You gotta know in the back of your mind that there is a large chance that you will have some challenges trying to put this puzzle together, because it is a puzzle. You're trying to, redo a family unit and put it back together in a different way. Maybe not totally different, but it's going to be different due to the fact that you're blending two different families together. So, you have to know that, and you need to be aware and understand what you're going into. And when I say you need to understand it, because it's going to take work, and you got to be willing to put the work in. According to the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychology, it can take 1 to 2 years to make the adjustment. So when you guys have decided to come together and putting all this, getting the kids together, getting this one to like this one, and, getting rid of the sibling rivalry and all the things that's going on, it takes, according to studies, 1 to 2 years to get a lot of those things worked out. To keep it smooth, the couple has to, once again, be willing to work together. But I want to say this, it can't be just one working, trying to make this work. It's got to be both parents, both of you in the situation being involved in everything. It's hard getting someone else's child to listen to you. And if you're not helping, that's going to make it even harder. So you both have to be involved. That brings me to some things that I want to talk about that you can do to help with the blending. Starting with family counseling, I think that it's not a bad idea. And I don't think that you really have to wait to do this after you're married. If you're serious with this person and you know that you're going to move forward with the family unit, you are eventually going to get married, I don't think there's anything wrong with starting counseling prior to, because once again, if you were with an ex for a long time, the kids are used to that. They've got to get used to, mommy, daddy not together, mommy, daddy, living separate lives, and mommy and daddy moving on to be with someone else, this new person. And who is this new person invading my space? So it's not a bad thing to bring a professional in to help you guys work through the issues and different feelings that everyone in the unit may be feeling. Back to that inclusiveness, making sure that everyone's feelings is considered. I think that you want to, in the beginning, establish some respect in the roles in the relationship. I think this will help. Once you decide to do this, you can only control what goes on into your house. When they go to the ex's house or whatever, you can't control that. However, you do have to be prepared for damage control to do that. When they come back, answer questions and try to eliminate any confusion that may have arisen or been created in their minds. You have to be able to diffuse that. Okay, you definitely got to be able to diffuse that. I want to say, you have to establish the roles in your household. Who's who? This is mom, this is dad. What we say, we make the rules. We call the shots, we provide for you, whatever else. And at the end of the day, we both love you and we both love you the same. There's not any big eyes, little U's, or anything else. We are all a family unit. You are all included. We want to listen to all of you. You all have a voice, and you have to make sure that you drive that home. But at the end of the day, there will be respect. They have to respect the unit. They have to respect both of you equally. Okay? So, with that said, you might want to come up with some house rules, whatever they are. It could be from chores to who do you go to when you want to do something that you need permission for, just whatever the rules are. However, you two as a couple need to work that out and talk about that. And then some things may arise that have never come up before that you might have to tell the kid, let us talk about it and we'll get back to you. Don't just, jump out there and give, one of you give, the blessing or not give a blessing, and you find that your partner is not feeling the same way that you do. You need to talk about it. You want to avoid giving labels, like, oh, this one can do this, like talking about the kids. Oh, she's so wonderful and this, that, and the other, because you might have that one kid that may not be so outgoing or whatever else that's feeling a little bit bad. And I'm just using this as an example. So you want to get away from labels. My favorite. I hate to hear people say they got a favorite kid or a favorite. That is, I don't have a favorite kid. Kids are different. Keep in mind, you may have to handle them different because their personalities are different. Okay, but needless to say, I hate to hear that my favorite kid. I think that is totally disgusting. And when kids hear that, that plays with their psyche, oh, mom likes this one better than me, or, so you should always try to be as fair and as across the board, across the board good to all of them as possible, and if you come off that way and not meaning it, you have to figure out a way to fix it, because you should not be doing that. So avoid the labels. Discipline, once again, I say together, agree on the style. I'll go back to the parenting style. You guys, if you're like at one end of the circuit from the other, and like one is at 0 and you're at 100, you got to find somewhere to get to 50 to compromise on how you're going to actually parent and what kind of parenting style that you're going to do. You got to commit to this by keeping each other in check. If someone gets out of line and forget what the rules are or how you guys have planned to handle it, it's okay to have a conversation later, holding each other accountable, holding each other to the standard of, for the sake of the relationship and for the sake of the family. Equal treatment. Like I said, equal treatment across the board and fairness is definitely going to be key in helping to make this work. Create a list of values. I would say before, when you get the opportunity, create a list of values. And once again, I go back to, I said it would be great to do counseling before you guys get together. All of these things, like creating a list, talking about how you're going to handle the parenting style, it can be done before, and as much in unison that you guys can look and appear in the family unit, with the kids around and with people, is the better. Set up new, and here's another thing, coming from two different situations, trying to make them fit into one, you may have had different rituals, holidays, standards, and just different things that you did. Now is the time to create your own and create your new ones. If you may find that you want to adopt what you were doing, and if everybody agrees, then that's great. You may want to celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve rather than Christmas Day, or Thanksgiving. I've always spent it at my mom's house, but now you have a new family. Is that okay with them, or should you maybe cook dinner and spend it at your own house and invite people over you got to be able to create your own rituals. Nothing should be locked in stone, because this is new. You're starting new. It's like, building a new house. You're picking everything new. Okay. Some stuff, maybe you're bringing some old stuff to put in there. However, it's got to be agreed upon. So once again, you got to set aside, sacrifice. Like I said, that's one of the biggest things that people run into with the controversy. Sacrificing, here it is. You got to sacrifice. and work it out. But you have to set your own rituals. And once again, you need to set aside time. And this is going to be one people may question me on. I don't think it's wrong with setting aside time to spend with your own biological kids. Although you've come in, I've talked about all this unity, you got to do everything together, this, that, and the other. However, you don't want to lose the fact that they are your biological kids. And I don't think it's anything wrong with setting aside doing, some time with them, because you don't want them to feel like mommy just all of a sudden just dropped me and she's just all in for this and not hearing us. So you don't want to lose that either. It's nothing wrong with it. There's a decent way to do it, and you and your spouse should be on one page with that, and vice versa. I'm saying he and the she because I am the mom. He should also have that privilege to do with his kids, or she should also have that privilege to do with their kids. It's nothing wrong with that, but just treat it in a very positive and a very respectful way, to make sure that everyone is okay and comfortable. And once again, the inclusiveness, the fairness, the just not feeling left out because mommy or daddy has moved on to a new situation. Understand that there will be some things that are last but not least, there are some things that won't be blendable, okay? But they're just not blendable, and understand that. However, you have to focus on them, but you don't have to focus on them. Don't make them the highlight and the cross that you bear, the things that are unblendable. You have to make the things that are working work, make them as strong as possible, and just move on. And then, if there's something that's not needing to be changed, just because you're coming together for the sake of change, don't do that. If it's unnecessary, don't make unnecessary changes. If something is working and it's blending and it's okay with everybody, then it's okay to do it. Because you're blended doesn't mean that everything has to change. It's just blended means just making it work, compromising where it needs to be. And once again, just you're doing everything to make everyone happy. Here's another, and this is probably going to, a lot of people do this. You need to speak well of your ex, or if you can't, I was always told, my mom was, if you can't speak well about someone, don't say anything, and if there's a situation that you have going on with your ex, you don't want to, like be outlandish around the kids and this, whatever, he did this or she did that, calling them names, and you don't want to do that. If you and your spouse want to have that conversation, go out for dinner or something and vent to each other, or someone, just make sure that the kids are not dragged into that, because that is, that's just feeding into that ex, like filling their heads with stuff and just keeping confusion going, and some stuff you just got to ignore. However, you want to be seen as the good person. You don't want to be talking really bad about your ex. You may have bad thoughts and may have bad things to say. I would say do not do that in front of the kids or whatever. Just keep that amongst you and the adults. You want to anticipate, because all of this, at the end of the day, you got to anticipate difficult situations. Whatever they might be. Like I said back in the beginning, there are some situations that I'm not mentioning here that happens between blended families. However, you just got to have a system in place, or be, mentally in a place where if something comes up, you're able to handle it. You're able to handle it in a positive manner, because once again, this is a very, very touchy, difficult situation, trying to put two different situations into one, like I keep saying. So with all that said, let me ask you, for those of you who remember this, I'm going to bring up a show, The Brady Bunch. Did you notice how they happen to get most of their problems worked out all the time, right? They got them all worked out all the time. They were a blended family. For those of you that don't know anything about The Brady Bunch, this is a good movie to go watch. The Brady Bunch, it was a lady and a guy that got married. They both had 3 kids each, and they blended. And, it was just like, they had situations, but it was always worked out or whatever. If that can happen for you, that is great. But I want to say this. TV and it's total fiction, okay? So know that you're going to have to put in the work. Any home in which at least one parent brings children from a prior relationship knows, first of all, that it's much harder in real life than a TV show on TV, okay? It takes sacrifice, It takes compromise, it takes compassion. And these are some things that I've mentioned. It takes patience, it takes time, and a host of life skills to help you manage the day to day with this situation, let alone trying to manage personalities, feelings, and heartfelt entitlements. Because sometimes children feel entitled. You're my mom. You're supposed to be doing this for me, or you're supposed to be doing this. You like those kids, but you brought those kids here, and you like them better than me, or they, that's not the situation. You love everybody, okay? Of course, you have your biological kids, whatever, but you gotta, just looking at the Brady Bunch or whatever, and I brought that up just to throw some humor in there. It's not that quite that easy. So I want everyone that is in that situation to know it does take work. And then if you have a situation where it has just blended and you've had no issues, then you are the model couple. And I say to you, reach out to someone that you know that may not be doing so well in that situation, and offer some coaching, offer your ear, offer, some advice or whatever. Like I always say, you have to be in it for the long haul, through thick and thin, and for better or for worse, or you will not make it. According to the statistics, 70%, let me say, do not make it. It takes up, and 70% that don't make it, they don't make it past 5 years, were some more statistics that I said. And then trying to blend and adjust and getting these two spaces to move into one, like I said, it takes anywhere from 1 to 2 years, according to studies that have been conducted on blended families. So, you want to do the best that you can, because the odds are against you with those kind of statistics. But, through lots of prayer, through lots of consideration, patience, and some of the virtues that I said that you've got to have, you can do this. So let me say this: it can be done. My blended family has been in the making and started 20 years ago. So it can be done. That's today's show. I am Carla Davis Luster. Please continue to tune in on Tuesdays. I am your host of the Us Review. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Follow me across the platforms at Ask Carla, IG, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, whatever, Ask Carla. My website where you can purchase my novels that I always talk about, The Woman Tells, and I'm Not a Homeworker Opportunist, maybe, can be purchased at Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, or at AskCarlaDL.com. And I'd like to say, until next time, with the next controversial topic that I'll talk about, please try to create a fantastic day. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.